They were a slave. They were given housing, food, clothing, medical care.
From what you said, it sounds like you were born before the civil rights movement.
Oh, yeah.
So black people couldn't buy houses in your lifetime when you were maybe a baby.
I'm well aware of that.
You were 5. So you don't think there's any downstream effect?
I felt oppressed at that time.
Yeah.
But that's what Martin was trying to correct. Right now, I see so many people living off the government handout.
I'm pretty sure welfare use per capita is higher in red states than blue states.
Yes, but there's so many people living off of the government handouts. And that is not that much farther away from slavery. They were a slave. They were given housing, food, clothing, medical care. The people asked them to work. Yes, there were landowners that were violent and mean to some of them, but there were others that were humanistic.
And the lady that you just heard said slavery wasn't that bad. Oh no, they had housing and clothing and food and medical care. And while there may have been some mean, violent slave holders, there were others who were kind. Really, lady? She just said that in 21st century. All of the documentation about the horrors of enslavement of black people, of Africans, and then their descendants into the New World, which includes the United States. This lady, to quote my grandmother, fixed her mouth to say it wasn't that bad. She sounds a lot like Governor Ron DeSantis, aka DeSatan, all the way in the great state of Florida, who has gone on record to say that enslaved black people, they learned some good skills. Make sure we teach that in school. Lord, have mercy on all our souls. If not declaring that the enslavement of Africans and then their descendants wasn't that bad, she went on to link chattel slavery to government handouts. I mean, that's not making sense to me. I mean, make that make sense. I mean, that is a big leap. And the they she was talking about, I mean, obviously, she said Martin was trying to change all that. I'm just assuming, which I try not to do, but that she was talking about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when she said Martin was trying to change that. Lady, you need to take an African American history course, really. I mean, stat. She is a prime example as to why we need to teach that kind of history in schools. People need to understand the trajectory. They need to get this right. That European Americans do not have any claim to this land. There's only one group that does, and that is the indigenous people. And then those who are descendants of enslaved people, starting with their African ancestors, were brought over here by force. Those are only two people. You know, they have a different status in this country because everybody else came over here of their own free will.
Just keep it flying.
Keep it flying? And why do you want to keep it flying?
Why would anybody want to erase our heritage?
Well, some people would say that flag symbolizes racism, it symbolizes slavery, and they might have some valid points there.
That's their opinion, you know, they're welcome to their opinion if they want it.
Are you pro-slavery or against slavery?
I have no comment, but thank you for the interview.
I'll give you one more chance. Pro or anti-slavery?
No comment.
She linked people being on the government's dime, too many people getting government handouts, and she just assumed she was just really talking about black people. And Adam really, you know, he helped her. He said, listen, most of the states where people are getting those handouts, they're red states. In other words, there are poor people from all walks of life. But these two things are incongruent. So I just got to put that out there. You can't jump from slavery wasn't that bad to government handouts and then overlay that on black folks. The billions upon billions, the generations that were enslaved in this country, if those who are descendants of enslaved people never worked another day in their lives, it would be working too much. The woman just doesn't get it. Black history for all.
What do you think about woke culture? It's what everyone's talking about.
I think it's a bunch of crap. They're trying to change what our children think in the schools.
What would you like to see happen?
I'd like to get back like it was in the 60s.
Before all the civil rights stuff?
Before all the civil rights stuff.
So you would like to see things go back to before the civil rights movement?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You know, where people have their freedom in this country.
Well, certain groups didn't have as much at the time, right?
Right. They didn't have as much at the time. But we still got to get back where this country stands up for this country.
Corporate welfare is the biggest threat to this country. But I'm going to put that in the parking lot too. You know, all them trillions of dollars that we give to corporations, that corporate welfare is really what's hurting this country. Put that in the parking lot. The fact of the matter is that government's job is to protect domestic tranquility. Government's job is for us to do collectively what we cannot do as individuals. That is the job of government. Not to be all up in other people's wars, not to give handouts. You want to talk about handouts? Let's talk about them corporate handouts. But this lady, it's not just MAGA family, TYT family and others. Can I just say that? It's not just MAGA supporters. It's not just Trump supporters who think this way, who think in a very anti-black, ahistorical way. It's other folks who think that way too. And it's not just white people who think that way towards black people. Some people of color think that way too. So we're going to have to come back and listen. Sister Senator going to have to give a whole class on why this lady and others who think like her are so wrong. What we need to have is reparations. You want to talk about handouts. How about those who were enslaved and their descendants? You want to talk about handout. This country owes those descendants of enslaved people reparations. Yeah, they do. That and Black history for all. I'm just shaking my head. This don't make no sense. But welcome to America.